Hi, you're listening to After Dinner Conversations, short stories for long discussions. What that means is we get short stories, we select those short stories, and then we discuss them specifically about the ethics and the morality of the choices the characters and the situations put us in. Why did you do this? What makes you do this? What makes us good people? What's the nature of truth, goodness, all of that sort of stuff. And hopefully we're all better, smarter people for it and learn a little bit about why we think the way we think. So thank you for listening.
Okay, hi, and welcome back once again to After Dinner Conversation. This is actually, I think, our 40th episode.
Woo!
Considering we do them every 2 weeks, that means we've been doing this. My math isn't good here, but I'm going to say 3,000 weeks.
So close.
No?
Plus or minus one.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot more than a year though. 80 weeks, I guess.
The pandemic has been going on for 3,000 weeks, so
Oh
that
my
fits in.
God, it's so true. It is so true.
Hence the social distancing version of this podcast
Do you remember,
continues.
you remember how they do those like remember the decade things? I feel like MTV should do one of those just for 2020.
No kidding.
Right.
Yeah.
Just
A
for
lot
March 2020.
happened. A lot happened in 2020.
Yeah, it was a big year. Okay, so I'm your co-host Colby here with Ashley
Hello.
and Jeremy and Sarah
Hello.
and Sarah's cat. Yeah, and so like and subscribe, support us on Patreon. Go to our website afterdinnerconversation.com. We have a monthly magazine. We have the podcast. We have the anthologies you can order on Amazon. There's print ones and all that. Okay, so episode 40, I think, is The Crate by David Rich. Finally, a name I can pronunciate. It's been a struggle, man. The struggle is real.
Pronunciate.
Pronunciate. I can pronunciate it. That's the past tense of pronounce, right?
We have our own rules here.
Uh,
New words and new vocabulary all the time.
all the time. What was the one from before? It was we're coveting. That's what
Coveting.
Yeah, because we were separate. All right, so The Crate is again about a future society, since that's like 2/3 of our stories that we get for some reason. And this is about two women that are they're teenagers. One is the main narrator, and she has a friend named BLE, and they live in the like politically correct America of the future. I think it's called like APC or something. Or
OAR.
OAR is the neighbor. What's the one they live in?
APU.
APU, there you
American
go.
Political Union.
Yeah, American Political Union. And in the American Political Union, they have done everything. It's like a liberal's dream. They
So you think.
Or so you think. Well, liberalism gone like absurdity, right? To an absurd distance. Or political correctness gone to an absurd distance. Everyone travels around in personal crates, like mobile crates where they can't see in or out of them. And you really don't have any live friends. And so nobody knows anyone's, age or gender or ethnicity. They don't know what they look like. They don't know. Also, it's against the law to belittle people or make them feel bad. If you even brag, you can get like a letter in your file and have to watch an instructional video. And so the main character, who's believes that she's pretty bright, and it seems like she is, she wants to escape with her best friend to the neighboring town, the neighboring part. It's like America is split into two parts, it seems like.
So she's going 1,000 kilometers
Yeah.
to the other side of America.
Right, and that's the one that's, what is it, Ashley?
OPE.
OPE, thank you. Right, the old something republic. Old People's Republic or something. And so in the old republic, which they escape to, she hotwires her crate and her friend's crate to take her to the edge of town. They sneak through a break in the fence. They get to the old republic, and they take tests. And she aces her test because she's super smart. Her friend doesn't necessarily, but does good enough. And then she's like, "Great, you're assigned to category D." She's like, "What's that?" And she's like, "Well, we have categories here, A, B, C, and D. You might not know this, but you are overweight and quite unattractive. And therefore, you are category D, the lowest category. Your friend, even though she's not that bright, she's bright enough, and so she became a category B as in boy. And of course, she can't become an A because only men can become A categories in this culture. And so you're going to go to college and you're going to have a life as a category D as in dog, the lower category. She doesn't really like this, but at least she can like brag about how smart she is or whatever. She goes to school for engineering and very quickly realizes that each category is very hard to the category below it, seemingly without any sort of retribution. So like she gets rolled around in the mud. Her friend that's gay is in category D, and he gets bullied and beat up by a category C, I think it is, or B. And you really can't category jump. Doesn't seem like. And so she's not very happy with how it turned out. Like she had this vision that she was going to go where she could like succeed on the merits of her intelligence, and it turns out that's not what they judge you by here. Like so, she did want to like be the awesome person. It just didn't pan out for her. And so her hot friend, who's a category B, gets whisked away to somewhere else to go to a better, happier life. And they really don't see each other for a while. So then when she is the narrator, when she is in school, the government comes knocking and says, look, we're going to wage war of a sort on our neighbors. We heard you can crack these crates and hotwire them. We've got 20 of them. We're going to have you hotwire 13 of them to go through the fencing, go to important points in your old country, and then emit electromagnetic charges, blow out their grid, and that way everyone's crates will stop functioning, and everyone will see everyone, and everyone will talk to everyone, and we'll knock down the walls of political correctness. And wouldn't that be great? And in exchange, we'll bump you up to a category C, maybe even a category B. She decides to do it, even though she's not particularly happy. And then right before they're ready to release them, another person, a professor of hers, comes to her and says, hey, will you also secretly wire up the remaining 7 crates to take down our grid as well? And when that happens, their fencing will go down and our fencing will go down, and everyone will see everyone. And then it'll be a complete free-for-all. Like everyone from our culture can go to their culture, and everyone from their culture can come to our culture, and it'll be like, it'll be like NAFTA or something. I don't know, like free trade, like free immigration. And so she does that, and then you fast forward 10 years for like the epilogue. Or is it epilogue or prologue? I never know which one's
It's
the
epilogue.
Thank you, the epilogue. And it turns out that like both of the cultures have come closer together, and that they're like people are married and they're going on with their lives, and it all worked out reasonably okay, it seems. Did I miss anything?
No, I think that's the main
Okay.
main points.
So it's really, 2 cultures, one of which judges you really hard, and the other one that takes away the complete inability to judge other people because they sticks them in crates. All right, so
They
I
don't
want
even
to.
have names. They're like
No,
numbered.
right, they're numbers, right, in the crate world. They're numbers. That's a great point, Sarah. So let me just ask you right away, if you had to pick between these 2, which would you pick?
Who's gonna go first?
Well, as a white man,
Right.
no. Obviously
that's
we'd
valid.
be category A.
Whose height and weight proportional.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, in the crate society seems better.
Are you
In
just
some
saying that
ways.
because Sarah's sitting there?
No,
Okay, just checking.
because she'd be a category B for sure.
Oh yeah. As good as a
Aw.
woman
We'd be in
trouble for
as
that.
good as a woman can be.
You guys.
All right, so
I
you go
pick-
you,
I
you
pick
go with the Crate
crates, too.
Society. You pick the Crate Society too, Sarah, Ashley?
Yeah.
Because I have a follow-up question after you guys all answer.
I would be the non-crate.
Really? Why is that? Because
Um,
you know you're hot.
no, I would not be in category B. I know for a fact I would be in like D.
Category kitten lover.
Because that's kind of how I view how life is now. I am not a hottie. I am not what you call have sex appeal. I am not one of those people. So I already live in that world and I've come to
It's
like,
turned out okay.
this is kind of how it is right
Oh,
now.
that's a good point. Like you're already sort of living it to some degree.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like all women are living this to some degree already, right? Like Ashley and I talk about this, about the
A
things that
lot of
guys.
people are already living this.
Yeah, yeah.
Not saying that I agree with it, but
You're at least it's the devil you know.
I like the freedoms associated with that kind of society rather than being in a crate when you can't even like interact with other people or have free speech of
Yeah.
saying,
You have to worry about what you say.
yeah.
At least among your own category, you're equal, right? Or you can like have friends. Like
Yeah.
even if you're a category D, like among category D's, social structures develop.
And I feel like eventually, like trends change. Like eventually, it's going to be like, oh, if you're a 5'11" blonde with big legs and athletic, eventually you're going to be the
your
hottie.
time might come around.
Like, yeah, it's going to eventually get up there.
Right. You're just waiting my
Right,
turn.
and maybe that might be a point in that in that culture, like even the professor who was a category A was still free to criticize their culture and work for change.
Right,
Yes.
because
Where it
everyone.
did
That's true, because everyone can speak freely about anything in this culture, in that culture.
right. But in the crate culture, there was a lot of censorship in that sense, or a top-down view to you're not allowed to do these, and you'll be punished if you do them.
I think the theory for the crate culture, at least the theory of political correctness, I think, when I just apply it to the crate culture, maybe it's not appropriate, but is the idea of like, don't say it. But at the very, we can't make you not think it, but at least for now, don't say it. And maybe someday you won't even think it, right? And I think that's what the crate culture is going towards, right? Is we're going to keep educating you and punishing you until it doesn't even occur to you to judge people by intelligence or by
these things,
by wittiness or by attractiveness or whatever.
What about
that
you?
we are all equal we should all be equal in this sense and treat each other so,
Right.
regardless of what we're doing or how smart we are,
Right.
or any of those things.
So there's the part of me that's like, I wish I would say the crate people, but I'm going to go with Ashley on this one. Like the better version of me wants to say crate people. But if I'm being really honest, I would rather be a category D in a culture where I can
work for change.
Yeah, where I can do what I want to do.
Do what you want.
Right. Even if I'm like always looking over my shoulder about somebody that's higher up like taking advantage of me, I kind of
They're both
would be okay with
they're
it.
both imperfect systems,
Yeah.
but at least in one, you have the ability to one interact with people of your choice because I think they were assigned friends, if I'm not mistaken, in the crate culture.
They applied for friends, for live friends or whatever.
Yeah, so you at least have that ability.
So let me ask you guys this, because I thought everyone would say the crate culture. I actually thought I would say it at first too. So is your problem with the other culture, the non-crate culture where they have categories, would you change your mind if you could be guaranteed that you would be a category A?
That's a hard question.
And your
Definitely,
children, right?
Right.
I mean,
Because-
who doesn't want to be in the most privileged class in a society?
Right.
But that's not
Jeremy
the
and I
point.
like it quite a bit, actually. We're pretty big fans.
I say this to
That's-
Colby all the time. Anytime he complains, I go, hold on, you are a straight white male. You are
In
the
America.
top
Yeah.
of the top. You have a college degree.
Yeah.
You have several. Like,
They wrote the exam for
Oh.
me.
exactly. They
Right.
wrote the exam for you. Like, life is
Grew up in the
designed.
suburbs.
Life is designed for you. Like,
Yeah.
there's been no adversity based off of those factors.
So what do you think, guys? Would you change? Would you be willing to go to the other culture if you could guarantee that you and your kids would be A's? Ooh, that's a
Oh,
long
man.
pause.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, Probably yes, and the idea would then be to use that privilege to help change the system. I mean, that would be the
That's what
You
every
know,
whitey says.
Well, who?
right,
Let's
and
be honest.
that's what we should be doing.
Every person in a place of privilege is like, yeah, no, I'll try and change it. And yet, like 500 years later, not much has changed.
Yeah, that's a big argument. Yeah, I don't know. That's like no, I think oh man. The I'm like you, Colby, like I want to be better than that
Right?
and
And yet,
and stay in my crate and not judge other people, you know, like
you never have to
being
shave your
guaranteed.
legs. I'm just saying, if you're in a crate, you never have to shave your legs.
I mean,
Well,
these are
Well, I
two
don't do that
very
now,
extreme.
Colby, unlike you.
These are two very extremely
I know
different.
you're a swimmer. It's different.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's the whole thing. People say, no, we're all the same. It's like, no, don't say we're the same. Acknowledge our differences, but not have those differences affect how we treat each other or
Right.
those sort of things. So in a way, putting them in crates, it gets rid of that diversity of learning about how fascinating life is, how people can come in different shapes and sizes and colors and everything else in between. And it's like, no, we're just going to box everybody up. Like that's
Oh, this okay. This makes me think of a good point that I hadn't thought. That's a really good point. So one of the things I always frustrate me with and I'm going to get myself in trouble for saying this, but whatever, frustrates me with the sort of political correctness movement a little bit is I feel like they're like, I don't see color, I don't see whatever, and it's like
Oh,
part of me wants to say like like there's so much value in diversity, like not just diversity of race or diversity of gender, but diversity of life experiences, right? And
Yes.
I feel like you just get better answers when you've got more people with more backgrounds sitting at the table. And if you stick everyone in a crate and give everyone the same life experience, like
You're really watering everything down,
yeah, you're
or
taking
you're limiting
you're limiting
your options.
what you're limiting what people can think because they all are very similar in what happened to them,
Yeah.
right?
yeah, I think that the political correctness movement has been mischaracterized in that exact
Okay.
way. I don't think colorblindness is
It's
a
the
goal
goal.
of anybody's anymore.
Okay.
We're supposed to be encouraging each other to see our differences
Celebrate
and
diversity.
celebrate them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I think is the ideal, to exist somewhere in between. This story was interesting to me because when I think about the movement on, for example, what I would perceive to be the right,
Mhm.
and I think about what is the end game there? What is the utopia that they're trying to reach with this movement? And it, to me, looks
Man
a
in the High
lot
Castle.
like, yeah, it looks a lot like this caste system where everybody is categorized based on how
Right.
they look and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And then they probably look at the other side and think
Mm.
that the progressive end game.
Is
make everyone
the
is
same.
all
crates.
living in crates.
And that's
Yeah.
why I think the genius
But I
of this
think
story
that
is,
both
right?
of those are probably
Yeah.
incorrect, you know? And yeah, exactly. That's what
But
I
that's
really
the
liked about this story.
Yeah. It takes each it's like what is like what do people think, what do people who aren't liberal think liberals want? Everyone to be
Crates.
exactly the same. They want crates, right? And what do liberals think the conservatives want? Like,
They want to stay in their category A.
right, like keep
Right.
all the Mexicans in Mexico, right? Everyone
Right.
here should be like from Germany, or like we've got 4 approved white countries and you should be Protestant.
we only
And
want
you should have-
hot weather women on the news. Like,
Right.
yeah. That's
And
what
so-
the best friend was assigned, by the
Right,
way,
and
in
so
the story.
right to be a news anchor. That's right. Yeah, and so I think it's interesting in the way they almost take the prejudices of each group against the other
Mhm.
and then turn them into real societies.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. It's like a statement about, somewhere in the middle is the best place to exist.
yeah.
Between these two cultures, right?
Right, that there's judging, that there are differences but not judgment.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
and that when, yeah, and not even
Where
say
people
judged
are allowed
by your,
to.
but Yeah, there's a lot to unpack. There's a lot of directions we could take this.
I mean, it's a good story because it forces us to examine what are the good things that we're trying to achieve. What does it look like to allow people to achieve their desires or to achieve their potential
Based on their abilities.
based on their abilities or their
their
desires, but
Yeah.
also remove obstacles that are unfairly placed in front of people and have been for generations, allowing
Yeah.
people to kind of break free and in a way that does kind of put people in crates a little
Yeah.
bit, leveling the playing field to give everybody equal opportunity.
Yeah.
But does that necessarily mean putting people in crates? I don't think so. But it is a good story in that it makes us kind of examine that.
So
Be
let
like,
me ask,
well,
let me
where are
ask
the
you guys
lines?
this: which do you think is the easier society to fix? Do you think it's easier to if you were to be like, okay, I'm gonna fix one of
start-
these. Would you
Right.
start with the crate society, and make 2 or 3 changes there to start off with, or would you start with the class society and make 2 or 3 changes there? Like, which is the more salvageable one? Do you think?
I think the crate society.
Probably so. The crate society is going to be easier to fix.
Yeah, your category A people are it's going to be
Fight
so
tooth and
hard to
nail.
get them to relinquish their privilege.
Hmm.
It's going
But
to be way too hard.
but if you put it this way, the crate, who is overseeing these crate people about what they say?
Hi, this is Colby, and you are listening to After Dinner Conversation, short stories for long discussions. But you already knew that, didn't you? If you'd like to support what we do at After Dinner Conversation, head on over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/After Dinner Conversation. That's right, for as little as $5 a month, you can support thoughtful conversations like the one you're listening to. And as an added incentive for being a Patreon supporter, you'll get early access to new short stories and ad-free podcasts, meaning you'll never have to listen to this blurb again. At higher levels of support, you'll be able to vote on which short stories become podcast discussions, and you'll even be able to submit questions for us to discuss during these podcasts. Thank you for listening, and thank you for being the kind of person that supports thoughtful discussion.
It's going
But
to be way too hard.
but if you put it this way, the crate, who is overseeing these crate people about what they say? There is a hierarchy there. So how do you convince those people to give up their surveillance
This is-
rights?
It's Animal Farm. Every animal is equal.
Crazy.
Just some animals are more equal.
More equal.
Like, there's somebody
Yeah.
who's like ahead of the crate people, right? Who's
Exactly.
like keeping an eye on.
Who
Yeah.
wa-
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Who
it have
watches the watchers?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have to come
Interesting.
down to how if there is any voting amongst the crate people of what they want to change and what's permissible and what's not permissible. Maybe they put themselves in that situation. Everyone voted yes, we want to have surveillance, and yes, we want to have.
Right.
No one
Somehow
can say
or another,
this.
it probably came around somehow democratically.
Possibly that they kind of box themselves in, literally.
Yeah.
Ha, that was fun.
Yeah, you kind of. I mean, we don't know enough about these two societies and how their governments are set up.
Yeah.
I
Sarah,
mean,
which
this could
do
be
you
a
think?
whole book.
Sarah, yeah, I agree. It could totally be like what was that one movie, the book series, Diversion or
Divergent, yeah.
Divergent? It could totally be
Divergent.
like a Divergent series.
Yeah.
Sarah, what do you think? Which is the more salvageable one for you, the crate culture or the one with the social structure?
Well, I mean, if we're just making small changes, I think it would be easier to start in the crate culture.
Yeah.
Just because
And
of
what would
the-
you do?
Oh,
Oof.
that's going to take some thought, Colby.
Would it just be
Oof.
getting rid of the crates, or would you start with something different?
Probably allowing people to have more live contacts.
I would say eliminating the automatic friend chooser. Like you get to interact with your own friends, talks amongst each other more.
Right.
They're
Yeah.
more about education as opposed to just prevention. So promoting a change in attitude, not just preventing the contact to prevent all of the judgments.
Did you guys ever read the story Harrison Bergeron in the short story by Kurt Vonnegut?
No.
It just reminds me a little bit of that, in that the story's like in the future, and they've decided that they have to make everyone equal, and the way they do it is by basically crippling people based on their thing. So if you're really smart, you have to wear headphones that like blare screeching music in your ear at random intervals. And if you're really strong, you have to wear weights to like make you in like a ball and chain around your ankles so that you'll move more like everyone. And if you're really pretty, you have to wear a bag over your head or a mask. And it's like, look, we can't actually make everyone equal, so we're going to basically cripple everyone based on what they're good at to bring everyone to the same low level.
Right. Bring everybody down instead of build
Right.
everybody up.
Right.
That idea.
Okay, so let me ask another question for you guys, because this actually seems like it's a really ripe story for what ifs. Fast forward 50 or 100 years, which culture do you think is the one that sort of technologically, economically, socially, like which one becomes the successful one and which one becomes the North Korea?
Oh, that's a good question. Because they both have their value, or they both have
Could
things
be.
that would provide them opportunity.
Yeah.
The crate culture, because it is more egalitarian, is going to allow I would assume, appropriately utilize the smart people but I don't know, maybe they're
You can be smart, you just can't get credit for it.
right.
Oh, okay, so you can do good
So-
work, but does that mean you can get promoted for being like one of the better employees?
You're not allowed
Yeah,
to
it's
flaunt
hard
it.
to tell. You're
So
not allowed
maybe
to
you can get
flaunt
promoted,
it,
you just can't flaunt it or really like tell anyone about it.
Correct.
Right.
Right.
So it curbs ambition, which is a problem, but promotes
Yeah.
egalitarianism for people with ambition. Possibly,
Yeah.
I don't know. We'd
Yeah,
have
I
to look
don't
at
know.
that a little more.
Like if nobody
Where
can
the
ever
other,
criticize you,
yeah,
like I don't know,
Where-
that might take away your ability to try as hard.
yeah, and the other culture is going to foster people's ambitions, but a limited subset of people's ambitions.
Yeah.
My heart really went out to this girl because she seems super intelligent. She's super ambitious. She has like all these great goals and she's willing to help out her friend to escape as well.
Yeah.
But at the same time, she talks about how much she just wants to get the attention and the praise that she rightfully deserves for the stuff that she's done, but maybe she's going about it the wrong way. But for her to go into that new world and be like, yeah, no, you aced that test. You're right, but you're ugly. You got to go to the D class. I was just like, wow, you just threw away potential
Mm.
because of her looks. And I faced that myself. I worked at an office where I got hired, but I was disciplined because I wasn't wearing makeup. I wasn't presenting myself up to their scale. It was conscious, like brought up to my attention several times. And I don't wear makeup. I'm working in a dental office and getting spit put on me. Like I don't want to put caked more stuff on my face. So I've been there. Been like, this probably isn't the best place for you because you're just not pretty
So
enough.
is your problem with culture D, or is your problem with what culture D categorizes based on?
Oh, categorized based on.
So if the other culture that categorized based on sort of work ethic and intelligence, and then it puts you in category A, B, C, or D, you'd be like, oh, I'm totally cool with that.
But they all still have the same opportunity. Even the D people get to go to university. I don't like how they treat the lesser people. No, I don't. I don't think they
Okay.
should get carte blanche to beat up anybody in their lower class. By all means, no.
Well, then I'm out.
But I feel like those that are those that have
Sure.
worked hard and are the most skilled at their job should be the ones promoted. I don't think they should be in a different category.
Yeah.
But
But I
But
mean,
there's
that's
still-
the idea that you are in a
but-
category, though, in the culture.
yeah,
Right, and there are still. It seems like there are still a lot of limits based on your categories.
Right?
Um,
You're really smart for a D, right?
Right.
Like,
So
Yeah.
you can work your way up to a C, and you can be successful in a career of your choosing, but
right,
you're never going to be in category A, and you're
Right.
never going to have all the privilege associated with category
Right.
A.
you can
Why-
be the
why-
person.
why
you can
couldn't-
be the person in charge of the trash people.
why?
That's how
why
they were
couldn't
category D.
why couldn't they move up to an A though? If they worked hard enough and did well
I
enough.
don't think
Because
I think
it was only limited for attractive white
Yeah.
attractive
Oh
white
no,
men.
yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, I thought you were talking
Right.
about the other.
So
Never
what do you
mind.
guys think? Like, would you be more inclined to go with the categorization culture if they is the problem not that they categorize and put people in groups and sort of systems? It's just the problem of what they do it with. Like,
Again, if it were a more egalitarian sense, and yes, it might be a way to do it, but
I feel like at that point you're
it,
just haggling over price, man. Like,
Brave New World, man.
yeah,
It's
I'm,
it's
I,
really they shouldn't be categorizing. That's the problem with the society. It's not how they're categorizing. If you're gonna, yes, if you're
so
talking
any
about,
categorization system would be bad in your mind.
yes,
Okay, Sarah, you agree or no? Do you not want
Yeah,
do you
I
not want
feel
merit
like
pay?
ooh. I feel like my brain is still trying to moderate both societies.
Yeah,
But that's not really what the story is about. The story is about these two very opposite.
yeah.
So it's really hard for me to say I would pick one or the over the other because really neither is
or
attractive.
allow categorization
Yeah.
with a different system. Again, what are your categories?
And I'm thinking like, how do we tend to categorize people now?
I feel like we do already. Like it's not this rigid and
Oh,
it's not written in your thing, but we've all got a credit score. We all grew up in a house that's related to a school system,
I will never make the same amount as a man because I make 80
right?
cents to the dollar or whatever it
Right.
is.
Like
Yeah.
to
Just
some degree,
because
you're limited by where you were born and who you were born to and how much they made. Like Sarah, as well as anyone, I'm sure that like the only thing that standardized tests show is how much money your household income is. Like that's
That's
the
right.
only thing that standardized tests can predict.
So we already kind of do live in a society that categorizes people. So
absolutely. Well,
I
and
guess
past
that's
classes.
where my brain was. I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
trying to kind of think about in what ways do we already live in both of these societies?
if you are attractive, you will automatically have somewhat of an easier life in getting a job. Like if you're more attractive, you're more likely to get promoted, or
Yeah.
those sort of things already exist.
I feel like there was some
Yeah.
TV show where some attractive person became unattractive, and it was a woman, and she was like,
She had to
she was
walk
like,
around town and see how people
yeah,
react to her differently.
right, and she's
Yep.
like, hey, people just don't buy you drinks and hold doors open for you. And they're like, no, they only do that for you.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
yeah, Charlize Theron, you never know what our lives are like.
But give her credit. She won an Oscar for a
Yeah.
role where she wasn't beautiful. She
That's
was
right.
Monsters Ball or
It's not
whatever, not
yeah.
Monsters Ball, whatever it
Monster.
was. Monster.
It's not just enough for her to take the roles for hot women. She's got to take the roles for ugly women too. Right?
Jeez, Colby.
Stay in your lane. I'm just saying, Steve Buscemi needs work too.
I'm not
come on,
even
that
gonna
guy
say.
is not. He's definitely a good actor.
Yeah.
He will never be in the A
He'll
category.
never be in the A category. No, he's gonna be a solid CD category there. Anything else about this that you? Let me look at the questions. I don't even know if we covered the questions. I was having so much fun.
We did. We covered all of the
Did we cover all the questions?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, that's
I was
good.
looking over them.
Good. I'm glad. Yeah, I think you're right. I think we did cover all of them. This is a good story.
So is there something that we can do? So we see both extremes. Is there something that we can do currently as our society as it is? Obviously, we see the extremes. Is there anything that we can do to ensure that we don't steer one way or the other? We already acknowledge that we live in a categorized system.
I feel like we're
How do
slowly
you-
working our way towards the crate culture.
You
Like in the
do?
last 30 years, I feel like we're drifting
Oh, I
towards the crate culture. You
disagree.
think we're
I-
drifting away?
Absolutely. I agree with Sarah.
I
Absolutely 100%.
disagree.
Yep.
Why? Is
Okay.
it because your privilege is threatened, Colby?
Yes. uh,
Yes.
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 Why do I think
Make
that?
me equal with everybody, please, now
yeah.
before they overtake my power.
Why do I think we're drifting towards it? I remember the things I would hear when I was a little kid. The things I would hear my dad say about people of other races or of other cultures or of people of certain intelligences. And I'm glad that that sort of language is not appropriate anymore. And so, do I think like in the last 6 or 7 years, or maybe the last 4 years, things have gone the other way? Yes, I do. But do I think like the 30-year time span has made us sort of um, more celebratory of differences? I do think that's the long trend. Um,
All that's going to do is threaten the people that are currently in power, and they rule
yeah.
everything. And just because you don't hear those slang terms around your current friends and family doesn't mean it still doesn't exist. You just haven't surrounded yourself with those
Oh,
people.
yeah. No, I'm sure that prejudice exists and bias exists and limiting people. I'm sure that all exists, but I don't know. I just things that I remember hearing my dad say growing up, and you grew up in Texas, Jeremy. You know what I'm talking
Oh,
about.
yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
like I feel like it's just even they know like, well, the friends I should say that to, that group of people is getting smaller and smaller.
So what should we do then if you see it heading that way?
Well,
And obviously,
I think we
we
should
don't.
head more towards the crate people. I think
No,
we should head.
I know. But before it gets to the crate situation, like we're heading that way,
Yeah,
how do you know you've gone too far over the pendulum swing? You're like, oh, we're really turning into crate people here. Where do you start to draw that line?
it's a good question. For
I
me, you ever? Yeah, Sarah, jump in. I need time to think.
oh,
It,
I think naturally we will avoid becoming crate people. I think it's in our nature to want to be different and to want to celebrate diversity. I think it's our responsibility to raise our children better and to be intensely self reflective, but that's not having other people judge us. That's reflecting on our own thoughts, our own feelings, our own responses. And it's important to encourage a democratic society where everybody has a voice and a vote
Yeah.
so that we're all heard, you know?
right.
So I think that's what's going to keep us from verging, um, heading too far in either extreme, is by keeping ourselves in check.
Right, and I would say, and I'm going to get in trouble for this because it's
Nice.
a slippery slope. Uh,
Is it about your
the
phone?
the going too far is government legislation that directs you more in the prevention sense instead of the education sense.
Oh, yeah.
In the you can't do these things.
Makes it
and
against the
we're gonna
law as
monitor you.
opposed to
Right, as
Yeah.
opposed to promoting equity.
this is how you and I are both
Yeah.
libertarian Democrats.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to be conscious of what we consume as far as our entertainment goes. So like watching what it is that we find entertaining is a real clue to figuring out where we're headed as a society.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what I'm saying is, you know, there can potentially be problems with government legislation, but the government should still be doing something to help promote a more equitable society.
You just want them to bring back Schoolhouse Rocks. I see how it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say for me, now that you guys have talked and I've had time to think about it, I think when I know we've gone too far is when somebody says, like, look, I know that's not the best candidate, but, you know, like, that's tough. And I don't mean best candidate just when you're taking into account all of the things that make a candidate the best, including the diversity of their experiences. Like, I think that's one of the things you should take into account when determining the best candidate. But even after taking diversity of life experiences and diversity and culture, all these things, then being like, look, you know, I feel like
I know
that's
that the best. Okay. When
You see what I'm saying? I don't know if I'm articulating it well.
No, because it sounds like you're just saying that yes, this is the best candidate for this position, but I still don't want them because of their race or gender.
Yeah, and I don't mean that. I mean,
Okay.
I mean their ability to do the job. I'm actually I support affirmative action, because I think that a lot of the times people don't realize there are things besides the things that are on the paper that always there's like diversity of opinion in the room that just really helps. But let's say that two people apply for the job, and I go, okay, when I take into account their ability to do the job and their ability to bring unique and interesting solutions to that problem, but someone goes, but Joe, he's been working at this job for 35 years and he's not really bright and he's not really good at it, but he's been doing it for 35 years. Don't you want to not hurt his feelings? It's like, no, like, whoever else, Mary or Hector or John or whoever else, like they may be only doing the job for 6 months, but they're just better at the job. I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, I'm just thinking of it in terms of like, I don't want to not hire that person because I don't want to hurt their feelings. If that makes sense.
How often do you think that actually happens?
Is
that just like kind of a moot like?
No, I think it happens now. Every time an employer writes into their job description, must have been previous employed at this job, and you must have been a Category 2 for 7 years prior to applying for a Category 3 position within our company. If you're a bad Category 2, I don't care how long you've been at the company. Like,
you're never going to be.
You're never going to be a Category 3 or whatever the higher category is, right? Like, I feel like there are times when, at least with city work, I've seen people that got promoted, not because they were the better candidate, right? But because like they've just been here so long, we don't want to make them feel like they don't have a place here to move up in the world. And it's like, look, they show up 20 minutes late and they leave 20 minutes early and they never take the initiative. But they've been here 18 years. You're right. We should probably make them the supervisor now.
Right. I don't think that's right. And maybe you should ask that person, are you happy where you're at? Because a lot of them are going to say, I'm perfectly happy where I'm at. I do not want additional responsibilities.
Right. I would like to go home. Like when the clock strikes 4:45, I want to walk out the door and never think of it again.
Right. I'm good at this job. You should leave me here.
Right.
But that's a hard hard thing though, for you to turn down a promotion. The company's like, what? You don't like,
because they
don't you want to grow in the company?
Make more money.
Yeah.
Oh, ask any teacher that says they never want to be an administrator.
I don't want to be an administrator.
See? You'd make a lot more money, though.
Why would you? This goes back to the thing with Star Trek. Why would you want to be an admiral if you enjoy being a captain?
Right.
But it would be a slap in the face if you turned it down and you were offered it.
Wouldn't even apply.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, these are good questions. It's a good
We've
story.
Gone somewhere interesting with this story. I feel like you almost ventured into unions, and I'm really glad we're not going to talk about that today.
Agreed. I have mixed feelings about unions. So maybe
we don't have to go there. I'm sorry.
We'll save that for another day.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, I'll talk to you guys later.
All right.
Oh, I almost forgot. You're listening to After Dinner Conversation. Like and subscribe. Join us on Patreon. Websites, afterdinnerconversation.com. Buy the short stories, buy the anthology, buy the magazine. Okay. We have gift cards, too. I totally forgot about that. Okay, now. Bye, guys.
Bye.
If you've enjoyed listening to this, please like and subscribe. It helps us out a ton. The vast majority of people haven't liked and subscribed, which means maybe it shows up in your algorithm, maybe it doesn't. So don't leave that to chance. Just go ahead and hit that button, and we'd sure appreciate that. And that way we can keep doing what we're doing, and you're not left to the whims of some algorithm. Thanks.